Henrietta Lacks was born in Roanoke, Virginia in 1920. In 1924, she moved to Clover, Virginia. During this time, she had two children, Lawrence and Elsie, with her cousin, David Day Lacks. On April 10, 1941, Henrietta Lacks married her cousin, Day, and from that union, they had three more children, David, Sonny Lacks, Deborah Lacks, and Joseph Lacks. Thirty-year-old Henrietta sought help in 1951 at Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore for what she called a knot on her cervix. She was diagnosed with cervical cancer and treated with radium and X-ray therapy. In the process, some of the tissue was removed from her tumor and sent down to George Guy's lab at Hopkins to be cultured in test tubes. Guy was the head of the tissue culture department at Hopkins, and he'd been trying for years to get cells to divide continuously and infinitely in the lab so that the scientific community could have an inexhaustible supply of human cells to experiment on. Neither Henrietta nor any of her family members knew about the tissue sample, and neither Guy nor Hopkins ever informed them. They didn't inform them even after the cells began to grow amazingly fast, and Guy and the rest of the scientific world realized they just made a gigantic breakthrough in medical technology. The Lacks family, who were poor, uneducated, and extremely wary of the medical community, didn't know if the cells meant anything. They had to focus on Henrietta, whose cancer cells spread as rapidly through her body as they did in the lab. She had rounds of radiation and X-ray therapy, but Henrietta didn't survive her disease. She died at the age of 31, leaving behind a husband and 5 young children. Deborah, Henrietta's youngest daughter, and the rest of the Lacks siblings learned about Henrietta's cells, called HeLa cells, by accident when a researcher from the National Cancer Institute was visiting a friend. He asked her last name and excitedly asked if she was related to Henrietta Lacks. He told her about HeLa, and Babette ran to tell the family that part of Henrietta was still alive. Pretty soon, researchers from Johns Hopkins were calling the family to get permission to draw their blood. Apparently, HeLa cells were so prolific that they had begun contaminating other cell lines all over the world. Now they had to be contained. In order to do this, scientists needed to find genetic markers in HeLa cells that would help them definitely identify the cells so that they could keep other cell lines separate. The Lacks family had no understanding of what HeLa cells were, where they came from, and what it meant when doctors and scientists say that Henrietta cells are immortal. And the scientific community wasn't doing anything to rectify that. Mostly they were trying to cover their butts, as HeLa had since becoming a massive for-profit industry, without the family's knowledge and without any financial benefit to the family. In the process of investigating Henrietta's life, Skloot also tells the story of an unethical scientific experimentation on human subjects and how the law struggled to keep up with such atrocities. Even though she's a science reporter who's generally enthusiastic about scientific advances, Skloot paints a picture of the medical and scientific communities as corrupted by racism, exploitation, and the objectification of their patients and research subjects. This is the story of the immortal life of Henrietta Lacks.